The characters of like pop culture nowadays, they're kind of, probably how sort of the Greeks like viewed like their gods to a degree, where they're like these role models for us in these fantastic ways, and the ability to try to capture them in a way that has a message for me is a lot of what I try to do. Hi, my name's Seth Groves, and I'm an illustrator.
And are you excited?
I'm really excited to open up my gallery today. It's going to be really cool. So I think a lot of the characters of like pop culture nowadays, they're kind of, probably how sort of the Greeks like viewed like their gods to a degree, where they're like these role models for us in these fantastic ways, and the ability to try to capture them in a way that has a message for me is a lot of what I try to do. Capturing Batman with a moodiness, capturing Spider-Man in a cool heroic pose. These things are really fun for me to try to do. I really like a lot of these stories. They're like kind of modern folk tales in a way. And these characters are central to them, and it's really fun to be able to try to capture like a series in a single image of one character. What is the mood of that? How can I do that? How can I do Seth Groves' version of that character and make it feel cool and real and something that people want to view?
Have you ever had like an art exhibit before?
No, I've never had an art exhibit. I've obviously displayed my art at Comic Cons and stuff, so I've had people, I've got reactions from people seeing it, seeing my art in front of them, and that is truly one of the most like rewarding things as an artist, is to know you spent 50, 100, 200 hours on a piece. And all that time sitting hunched over a computer and then hunched over a painting, and all the effort and pain that went into that piece, because it's not always, it's not glorious like the day to day. There's a reason like people show art in time lapse and not real time, because it is a grind. And grinding out all those hours, and then seeing, for me, the number one like most satisfying thing is seeing a little kid look at my art. A little girl, a little boy, they look up and they see a hero that I drew, and I just watch their face light up. There's probably nothing more rewarding for me than that. So I've never had an art exhibit, but I have got to experience people seeing my art, and it is very cool most of the time. So commission license work is, so basically I'm now starting to work for companies to create licensed pieces for some of these properties. So specifically right now, Marvel and Star Wars. So I'm working through a company called Acme Archives. They hold the license for Star Wars, and now have the license for Marvel to produce art prints for these properties. And I had been submitting pieces to Acme Archives for probably 5 years, putting pieces in front of them in order to try to get work. And it ranged from never getting a response to, hey, we're not quite interested in this, and just persistence was key. I didn't have the skills back then. I'm glad they didn't say yes back then, because I feel like that kind of would have halted my progression. Now that they've said, now that I finally started to do work for them, I'm really glad that it happened later on in my career. And if I would have created one thing that they would have said yes to early on, I feel like that sort of would have maybe halted my progression. And so I'm grateful for that struggle. I'm grateful for those rejections, because they let me know, hey, I'm not there yet, but I can keep working, and I know I can get there. Comic-Con. So I've been to a ton of different ones, and they range from incredibly insane to, I've been to some tiny shows where there's nobody there, man. So, but overall, like, you know, a lot of the bigger Comic-Cons in different cities are really, really fun. It's so incredible to interact with, you know, people who find my art interesting and stuff. And if you haven't been to one, if you like nerdy stuff, go. Absolutely go. They're a blast. They're exhausting because you're having so much fun. You're wildly stimulated. There's so much to see, and I truly love going to them, showing my art at them. It's very fun. My art is what I want it to be, I suppose, is vibrant, moody, heroic in a lot of ways. This first piece here was really important to me because, you know, StarWars.com reposted it, and it was one of the first pieces I ever did that really like gained some traction on the internet and stuff, and got like a large scale reaction to it, and that was really neat, and it gave me a lot of hope that I could, you know, maybe achieve some more of that. And it's not always about necessarily the audience reaction to it, but you know, that sort of validated to me that maybe I could do this as a career. So yeah, this Rorschach Noir piece is it was a lot of fun to like explore different textures and stuff with this, and try to use that ink as like a graphic element in the background. I had a lot of fun with that. So this piece here I call Shreddy, and this scene was just so cool to me. It stood out so much, and it was just one of those epic scenes that kind of like that comes around very rarely, in my opinion. And I really wanted to capture just this absolute metal rock star moment that he had. And I didn't want to use any of the imagery from the series itself. I really wanted to kind of pull my own reference and capture this like very metal poster vibe. And so I tried to utilize the lightning in a cool way to emphasize the guitar, because the design of the guitar is so good and it fits the upside down so perfect. So I wanted to emphasize that, and then just have you travel down and then get to Dustin with this funny little moment of him throwing up the rock and roll, and it was a blast to paint because the scene was so beautiful visually that it was so much fun to capture on my own. So this historic Irvington piece, it was something I definitely procrastinated doing for a little while, and the deadline kind of snuck up on me, and by the time I started it, I had 2 days to finish it to get it into the competition. So it didn't actually turn out exactly how I wanted it to. And there's some things I would change, but as an artist, I'm not gonna go back and do those things. I'm gonna let it live how it is. So the Darksaber piece has been a long time coming. It's definitely the most work I've ever put into a piece. I utilized a ton of the skills that I learned from my mentorships in Smart School. A lot of things I learned. You see an evolution with this piece. I feel like my art has finally started to get to a point where I'm very proud of the work I'm producing, because I know the effort that I'm putting into it, and I've tried to put in those extra hours and to gain those extra skills to produce something like this.